Snyder presents Geek Speak with Matthew Harris and Meredith Loughran. We cover entertainment, news, and tech with special guest appearances. So sit back and enjoy as we geek out together right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geek Speak with my host, Matthew Harris. I'm Meredith Loughran. We have a room full of creators that we cannot wait to introduce you to, and it's going to be a fun chat. If you are tuning in, we are on Indie Vault Radio as well as Geek Insider on YouTube, Facebook, and we're kind of networking all over the place, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So if you have questions, definitely ask away, and we'll try to get to them. Can't guarantee that, but I want to kind of go around the room and let them introduce themselves, and then we're just going to have some fun. We're going to have some casual conversation. Let's start with John.
Hi, I'm John. I'm John Celestri, John the animator. I've been a animator, a cartoonist for 45 years. Animated the Boba Fett in the Star Wars Holiday Special, and many other cartoons of the 1970s and 80s, including Dragon's Lair, Space Ace. Well, those are the video games. He-Man and She-Ra, and Rock and Rule. That was a feature-length film in. It's kind of a cult rock and roll film in 1983.
And I remember that movie.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh yes.
So I did three of the characters. Cindy Schlepper, the gal on roller skates, and the club owner, and the police chief.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
We're gonna pop up Mark on the big screen. Hey.
Dun 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 dun.
Hey guys, as said, I'm Mark, creator of the Guano Guy. Very serious person. I don't like life, and I hate people being silly or making jokes. It's not my thing. Not true.
Not true at all. Not true at all. We're out of here. Ben, go ahead and introduce
Hi, I'm Ben Lacy. I'm the artist and writer of Shark of War. And I've not been in the business for 45 years, but I've been in the business for the last year and a half.
Very cool.
Very good. All right, so let's get the whole panel here. So I love this panel because you all have these creations which are, I don't want to say necessarily, I mean, John, your books are all ages. Everybody
Yes.
else is kind of PG. There isn't like horror. There isn't any,
Right.
adult really, but it's content that adults would enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So John, I'm going to go to you first. What was the motivation behind Snuffy and Zoey? I mean, they're such fun characters and very youthful. I mean, were you inspired by children? Is it just like the kid inside?
No, Snuffy is a character that I've been drawing for 40 some odd years as a character that kind of was a notes that I would write to my wife for something. I would have a bear, and Snuffy was his name.
Oh,
And so that's the character as it developed. And as I got into developing it over the last, say, 5 years, I decided, okay, well, he's me basically as a 5-year-old, and getting into all kinds of mischief and what have you. And so I decided to add Zoey into it as a sibling, so that I would have people that they would go back and forth. And so I created those characters to sort of balance each other. One is rambunctious, like Snuffy is, but he doesn't think very well. He just acts and goes. Zoey is a bit more, she holds back a little bit, but she's just as physical and fun loving. But she can figure out something. she's the one who said, "Wait a minute, let's try this out," and then Snuffy just says, "Okay, no, we're going." So that's how kids are. So I was just creating those two characters. That's what they did. And so I decided to get them out of just their backyard is putting them into their magic toy box, where they go and explore, through their imaginations. Because I grew up in Brooklyn in a 2-bedroom apartment, a 4-room apartment, and so drawing and creating stuff was my escape. And so using, as a child, I know what you need to do. And we didn't have a lot of TV back then because, again, I'm older than dirt. So therefore, so kids today, they need to use and develop their imagination muscles. And this is a way to encourage them to do that.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I'm usually the oldest one on the show, John. And so it is nice to have somebody that is from a generation before mine. Yeah. But, back then we could go into the dirt and make a track for our Hot Wheels and spend hours out there, and same with, we did have the action figures, especially when Star Wars came out. But these days, kids at 4 years old are hooked on the phones or on the tablets or on the Xboxes. But speaking of Xboxes, real quick, John, because we only got John for a short amount of time tonight, folks, and then but Mark and Ben are going to stick with us. But John, I have to say, man, I got to ask, what characters did you do on Dragon's Lair?
I did both. My characters. Everybody did everything at the Don Bluth studio, but you were cast depending upon what kind of your strengths were, and my strengths were the action, but also I did a lot of the death scenes. So in Dragon's Lair, so if you died in either Space Ace or Dragon's Lair, a good chance you saw my animation.
See, that's fantastic. I had to message my brother just before showtime to tell him that you were coming on, because we went to summer school, I think after our 10th grade year, and at like noon, we always ducked out. We went down to the arcade, and we spent a whole summer playing Dragon's Lair. And when I got my Xbox One, the first game I bought was Galaga. The second game I bought was Dragon's Lair. And so, your artwork, those death scenes, some of them are just absolutely fantastic. I can see Dirk's face right now, they're being electrified or melted, and the skull. But that's great. How did you go from animation with video games and back and forth with comic books?
Well, the thing is that comic books, I started off wanting to do comic books at a very young age. Okay. In fact, drawing comic books were my gateway. that stimulated. Basically, I was a bullied kid, and so I always liked to draw. So I would just copy the comics, and that was my thing. And I'm not going to. I just discovered that I could draw, and that was my way of creating my own reality. But even though it was private, I did it my own way, and so that helped me. So I wanted to do that, but I tried. I wanted to be a comic book artist. I wanted to be a comic strip artist. I wanted to be a sports cartoonist. That back in the days of Willard Mullen, and those kinds of things. But newspapers, you couldn't crack in. Even though I was in New York, the newspapers were on the decline by that time in the 60s, when I was hitting my teens. And so therefore I discovered I could animate, but it wasn't until I was about 23 years old, 24 years old, that I discovered that I could capture motion with my pencil and move things around, because I had that understanding. And so by the time I was 24 years old, I learned on my own. I taught myself. I got an entry level job, as an in-betweener at the New York Tech. We were doing Tubby the Tuber, where New York Institute of Technology on Long Island, Westbury, Long Island, where development for computer animation was just starting there on that camp. Edmund Catmull was there in the campus. He was like, he's like two or 3 years older than I am. He's on the other side. So we were creating. I was learning. I was teaching myself, but also I was learning from old Popeye and Mighty Mouse animators, and that's where I got my learning is from them.
So for the entire group, though, who kind of self-taught, who went to school for art?
Well, back then there was no. There were two schools of animation: Sheridan, which is in Toronto, and Cal Arts, which was in Los Angeles, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mark, how about you? I'm sorry,
Mark.
John. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that John Speed. He's got short time.
Yeah.
Let's get what we can before he has to go.
And if you've got questions, please.
Please, don't let me do a monologue. I mean, just ask.
Well, I did want to play your a tiny bit of your Indiegogo clip, because we've got your QR code. So anybody who is watching right now, get your cell phones ready. Get ready to do a screenshot or get your QR code reader all set to go. We're going to play his clip. It's only about I think less than a minute.
20 seconds.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Yeah. I've got two specific series.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So Snuffy and Zoey's their Toy Box Adventures, that goes from ages 4 to about 7.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mega Moose with his magic feather, making him sneeze, and he turns a nerd turns into this a Minotaur type character with powers of all the animal kingdom. That's ages maybe about 8 to 12. All
right. Yeah. So, I mean, I honestly cannot wait to have that in my hot little hands, because I've got a grandbaby coming in December, and I cannot wait to share that.
She told me, she said, I hid money from Pat just so that I could back this one. And he's not listening, or I wouldn't be outing her. But Pat's her husband. But yeah, she said that she hid money so that she could back this one. And and I'm going to be in on it as well. That's
Fett. Oh no! I went for the sketch.
Oh, yeah.
I went for the So I might be a little bit of hot water with that one.
I wanted to throw something out there because we are on Indie Volt Radio, and so of course we're all over the world and all age groups. And so, folks, if you have not played Dragon's Lair, one, you can get it on the Xbox Marketplace. And it's animated, but guys, what you have to understand was that this was if not one of, I think it was the first laser disc game.
Yeah.
And
that's what it is.
It's kind of a choose your own adventure, sort of. You had to select the right way at the right time, or you ran into one of John's death scenes.
Yeah, a lot of scenes.
Yeah, there is. And it gets faster and faster. And I will tell you to make sure, if you do get the Xbox version, make sure you choose the arcade version to play, because otherwise it just skips through the scenes when you die, and you don't want to do that. You got to learn the game and learn how to get through it the right way. But it is a classic. Check it out. I don't know if it's available on PlayStation. I know for a fact it's on Xbox. And Xbox One, it's backwards compatible, but make sure you check it out. And we got a question here from Max Weston, excuse me.
Yeah.
And he says, my daughter wants to be an animator. She is 13. Do you have any advice for up and comers?
Okay, my first question is how do you like to draw? Do you like drawing? Because if you don't like drawing, then it's going to be difficult. You have to be willing to capture movement with very simple shapes and forms, and that's a very important thing. I've got a website. You've got my YouTube videos will explain a lot of the things that you need to do, and some of the idea of forces and forms and what have you. I also, if you Google my name, John Celestri, you will see a blog that I have where you will see the drawings, and I explain what I go through to create, roughs and sketches and what have you. But you need to draw, and I would say that the first thing to do is to get the Preston Blair books. Those are the simplest, the Art of Animation by how to animate by Preston Blair. And those are still very inexpensive books, and that gives you a basic understanding. But
I remember when I was little, we used to take the corner of our notebook and we would have a moving dot. So, and that was I never really considered that animation, but I guess in a way it's exactly.
Just do that. Just what you do is, and you can flip them. Because that's basically what you're doing. You're doing.
Then I'm an animator because I did stick figures like that. Now it was always naughty stuff, but I can only draw stick figures. But by golly, I'm an animator.
Well, listen, hey, Ralph Bakshi, the 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat is very naughty.
No joke. Well,
Mark, did you guys do that too? Did you have like the corner paper where you had the bouncing ball or the stick figure that kind of moved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was usually some guy doing, with a sword, but
yeah. Well, hey, that's Dragon's Lair, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's basically it. I mean, the most fun part is drawing, and I'm going to segue into that animation to how I draw for my comic books. And if you'll look at and if you'll see on the Indiegogo campaign.
Yeah, that's what I did, is the bouncing ball.
Well, everybody does the bouncing ball. You have to squash and stretch, and what are the forces involved? But with drawing, with the animation that I do, I design my panels to have the most expressive and energetic characterizations, and all my characters are always in movement, even when they're thinking. There's like you can see them. There's a lot of torque. There's a lot of pantomime in it. That's the fun thing. Just having sitting down doing realism is not, take a photograph, fine. That's not what I want to do. So I take my style of animation, which I learned and developed over the years, and I put that into my pages, whether it be Snuffy and Zoey or Nicky Nards and Mega Moose. So,
John, we definitely spend a full hour.
Yeah, I know. We got the. Yeah, we got it. We got
to wrap up, but so once your Indiegogo gets going, we got to have you back for another show, because I've got a lot of questions. We didn't even get to break into He-Man and She-Ra and then your other lines of work and really talking about it. But we always ask every guest one question, and you've only got a minute here, so I want to go ahead and throw it out to you. And I think this one might be pretty interesting coming from you. Okay. And that is, if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, save more money.
That's one of the better ones. And it was quick, too. He didn't even think about it. He just
I'm retired.
Save more money, so I'm in a better spot now, damn it.
You darn whippersnapper.
There you go.
Selfish.
Well, John, for the radio audience, tell everyone where they can find you, where they can follow you. We put it out on our social media and stuff, but of course, we got all the Indie Vote listeners out there. So tell everyone, and then we will see you soon. Okay,
great. Well, just check me out on Indiegogo. You just write John the Animator Comics. That's my crowdfunding. For Twitter, just go to Celestri, John Celestri at Celestri John. That's the my Twitter handle. And then, once you get that, then you can start, contacting me or seeing what I'm doing, and I'll be able to, if you want more information, easily, I'll lead you to it.
Well, John, it was such a pleasure to have you. We would definitely love to have you back when you can stay a little bit longer.
Yes, definitely,
yep.
Please.
Yep, definitely. Right. I appreciate it. Thank you, Meredith. Thank you, Matthew, Mark, and Ben. Thank you for letting me, get through the middle of the beginning of the line. Thank you.
When I get to the death of Guano, I got to get you in on it.
Okay.
Okay. No, not the death of Guano.
Down the road.
All right.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
You too. Thanks.
I wasn't going to kick him. He was going to have to kick himself. So, we lost.
Well, look, we can bring John back.
He's back. Now we can get out of here.
I think we lost Ben because of his phone.
Yeah.
Ben has issues with his phone, and it just drops.
Yeah, he's back though. We can bring him right back in.
Okay.
I found my phone seems to have about 15 minutes before it starts lagging on this StreamYard. I'm not sure why. So every 15 minutes, if you see me drop off, I'll be right back in.
And that's what I was saying. I think I left a message for you in private chat that it might help if it plugged in. I don't know.
You mean just plug into the computer, or?
No, just plug into power.
Plug in power.
I've got plenty of power, I think, but
yeah, I think it's just that extra boost. So, okay, so
let's go to Mark, because Mark, you and I haven't met yet. I've seen you on a couple of other shows and heard you on shows, and I've heard about Guano Guy. Man, you have got to tell the listeners out there. Tell it what I have just learned recently. Tell us about Guano Guy. How did it come about? Who is he? What does he do? And all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, he's a schmuck superhero who's out for the fame and the fortune, and saving people is just a way of getting there. It's kind of like the athlete who's good at playing a sport but doesn't really care about the sport, just wants the after parties and the ladies and the accoutrements to come along with it. That guy who doesn't practice enough because he doesn't really care about the winning. Like, he's just, I got the contract. The rest doesn't matter. So my favorite line is, it's Seinfeld with superpowers. It is just some jerks who don't know they're jerks. They're all obsessed with something that's not really important rather than actually helping people, which is important.
Mm-hmm. And I'd actually like to point out to anybody who's listening, if you go to terraformcomics.com and go to the store, you can actually download the first issue of Guano Guy and get an introduction. So cool. It's a free PDF download, an intro into the Guano Guy, and then your Kickstarter is book.
So it's Guano Guy number 3.
Number 3. But you've got a couple of books out.
Yeah, so it'll actually be the 7th issue because there's 4 issues of short stories with a different numbering. So this will be issue 3 in the actual continuity. Issue number 1 is packed full of jokes. One of my faves of it is that people have told me it feels like a 30-page book, but it's only 20 pages because it's just stuff happens so fast.
See, I love the snark of Guano Guy. I love this character because I think I've always been surrounded by people who are like that. But I laugh because it's so funny, and I'm just like, are you real? Are you for real? Like, really?
And I wanted to do just a book it's fun. There's nothing to really take serious. I poke fun at a lot of things. We're just having a good time. And if you got 5 minutes in your day, why not crack open a funny book and just enjoy a little bit.
Now, Matthew doesn't know, but you also do stand up, and I have a feeling that a lot of the material in Guano Guy might be stuff that you've used on stage.
Oh, very different.
Very different. Really?
No, I don't think I could have worked too much of my stand up into the comic book. I was performing it at night at 10 o'clock in a bar. That's very different joke.
Well, I see the snark though, the kind of the sense of humor and the play on words and. Mm-hmm.
Now, absolutely, I brought a lot of energy. I would be pacing the stage, very animated in my physical action during performance, but material wise, a little different.
Sure.
Guano Guy is quite safe for everybody.
Now, I got a couple of questions or things I want to kind of discuss with Mark, but I want to give Ben the opportunity to introduce Shark of War, because admittedly, I didn't know much about it other than the title. I'd heard the title, but I hadn't looked into it until today when we were having you guys on. And I have to say, I had a good chuckle after looking through this. So Ben, you tell everybody out there in Radio Land and on the podcast, and folks, don't forget, if you are listening in on Indie Vote Radio or you're listening in on the podcast replay, you can always tune in to our YouTube. Go to YouTube, look up Geek Insider. When we do these shows, we do them live. And so if you want to see our ugly mugs and Meredith's beautiful mug, you can always watch on YouTube. And then plus, a lot of the times we do show videos, like we showed John's little clip a minute ago. And then, we had like Jordana Brewster on a few weeks ago, and that's some stuff that you definitely want to see. Even though she was only on for a little bit. But anyway, so Ben, tell us about Shark of War. Give us the elevator pitch, man.
Well, I have their videos too, don't forget.
Oh, yeah.
But go ahead, Ben. Now, we want to hear from you. That's why you're here.
Uh-oh. I think he's lagging already. Yep, we're at the 30-minute mark. Ben, go ahead and restart and come back. I should have went to him first as soon as he came back a minute ago.
I know he was clear, and then all of a sudden he started.
Told you the phone wasn't working.
Well, while we're waiting for Ben to make it back in,
Shark of War
Mark.
is Jaws meets.
Oh,
yeah, you should have my video.
Yeah, you're okay now.
Yeah,
I heard Jaws meets.
Shark of War is Jaws meets RoboCop in its simplest form. Am I going away again?
No,
Dang
the video's kind of choppy, but your audio's okay. Okay. Yeah, he's lagging.
There we go. This one. There, okay.
There we go.
Well, you know what I'm going to do when by the time he gets back, we're going to play Mark Darden's. This is an old Kickstarter video. This isn't your recent one.
I'm going to grab a drink. I'll be right back.
Is this from number 2?
You're not. I think it is, because you're not launching until September 15th. Yeah. So you've only got like 5 days away until you launch your Kickstarter. Everybody, we're going to drop his link. And also, if you're listening, it's in the show notes, in the description. Make sure that you click on those links and hit the notify me button when it goes live, and throw some support behind Guano Guy. But we're going to play the video, and this is, I think, for your second campaign. All right, we'll be right back.
All right.
Hi, I'm Mark Darden, and thanks for finding your way to the Guano Guy Kickstarter. Boom! Pow! Epic explosions! Yeah, this is the second Guano Guy Kickstarter. The first one had these 5 comics. Ooh. But now we're back with a new 40-page comic with 2 beautiful covers. We're up to 170 pages now. Do you like rewards? You bet you like rewards. Who doesn't like rewards? Well, we've got them, right? We've got stickers. Bam! Prints. Pow! Posters. Come get them. Who's the Guano Guy for? It's for everybody who liked The Tick, Darkwing Duck, the old Batman TV show. It's a lot of fun. We've got gags, insults, we make fun of criminals. And if you want to know more about it, check out the little post videos where I'm doing readings from the comics. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you'll help support. I'm Mark Darden.
There is the QR code. All right. So if anybody's watching on the replay, we'll have the QR codes and stuff like that too. But yeah, it's so much fun and so much energy, and that really gives the feeling of the Guano Guy, and I enjoyed that. Ben, while we've got you, you're not pixelated. All right, quickly. Shark of
War Jaws meets RoboCop. It's about a shark who has operated on really. Sorry. Shark of War.
Go ahead. Got it.
Yeah, I've got 2 issues. The first issue is already done. Second issue is what I've got up now, even though you can get both issues on the Kickstarter. Essentially, the story is very much a shark is injured. He's a very large shark, like the Jaws shark. The military finds him. They take him to a secret facility where they're trying to use sea life as weaponry, and they basically modify him to be able to fly, to be bulletproof, to have his own guns, and of course his natural shark capabilities. And he escapes, but because of the programming that's been installed in him, he thinks it's his responsibility to take on crime. So basically he becomes like a punisher of the high seas. And when issue 2 starts, the mob who he's taken a bite out of, so to speak, wants to get rid of him. So they hire one of his creators to make something to stop him. And so what she comes up with is a swarm of enhanced piranha who are similar to him. And issue 2 is basically his battle with them, among other things.
And I saw the synopsis for issue 2, the piranhas. I love it. I saw the artwork. Folks, if y'all haven't checked this out, like I said, I just really was introduced to it today. I love the concept. I love the artwork. But of course, with your description, the first thing that I think of is a $6 million man. And so there has got to be, some Steve Austin comes in to fight the shark, and the shark just eats his ass instantly.
Well, one thing is the shark is very much the good guy here. He's our point of view character, and he is the hero, or somewhat of an anti-hero, perhaps. But your sympathy is always going to be with him, which I think is what sets this apart a little from your typical shark entertainment, is that normally the shark is the monster.
Bad guy.
So he's always the person we're either feeling bad for or we're rooting for, as he's taking on criminal people.
Gotcha. And is this a character that you came up with quite some time ago, and you're just now able to turn it into a comic, or is it something that recently came about?
If you remember the movie The Meg came out a few years ago,
Yep.
And I was going, wow, that's doing really well, and it doesn't look like it's that good a movie, and maybe I could think of something better. So I started thinking, what if the shark wasn't the bad guy, and what if the shark didn't have to use a tornado to get out of the water? So I had an idea that I filed away, and I was just going to do a short story for it, with like a shark with a jetpack. Was the original thought in my head. Is he'd have a jetpack and he'd fly around. But then I started realizing, I've always wanted to do a comic book, and I started learning some of this animated 3D software that's out now. Plus, starting to use. First, I started in GIMP, and then I'm using Clip Studio Paint now. I was like, maybe I could make a comic book. I didn't know any artists or anything, but maybe I can do enough on my own to make a decent comic book. And as I started working on it, I found that the art was able to let me tell the story the way I wanted to tell it. And so, I did 10 pages, and I was like, this isn't too bad. Let me do more. So at that point, I was like, I'm going to do a comic book. And at that point, I plotted out like a 5-issue story arc, this is the second issue. And my plan is that it'll be a 5-issue season 1. And if that goes well, there'll be another season after that.
Very cool. And granted, I only got to see what was on your crowdfunding page, but I did get kind of that Archer feel. I'm a huge fan of Archer. I like that type of humor, and so I did kind of get that sort of feel in it, but I haven't had a chance to check it out. I definitely plan on doing so.
Thank you.
I like unique stories is what I like. And that's one reason that we've really pushed Geek Insider for the indie artists, the indie creators, because we're not seeing the rehashed, storylines over and over. And we have met some killer creatives over the last 8 months. And, these type of comics, man, I'm an old, and I admit this all the time, and I'm an old Milk and Cheese comic fan. I don't know if y'all ever heard of Milk and Cheese, but it's dairy products gone bad. They usually just beat the crap out of people, but it had this satire, just balls to the wall, just let's see what we can get away with. And this was in the 90s, man, when indie comics were starting to make a little headway, but not much. And then Image came out. But this is the age of the indie. I truly believe that's why we are putting so much stock into having you kind of you creators on these shows and helping get the word out. Because like right now, I don't have Variant on, so I can't tell how many people are listening and from what countries, but we've got a lot listening right now, and we wouldn't be able to bring you kind of this kind of talent to the masses, so to speak. And I truly believe this, that the pandemic, in a way, helped us out, the indies out, because, we've been able to buckle down. And I say I'm a writer. I can't draw stick figures. So I'm not in no way. I have a meeting this weekend to discuss a comic book idea I have.
With pen and paper, I'm in the same boat.
Go ahead, Meredith.
I was going to say, like the common theme that I see here in this room, with Mark and with Ben, is that you just love the creative process, and you have a story to tell, and you're going to do whatever it takes to kind of get it out there. And that's something that I really appreciate. I mean, what was really the driving force behind, because for me growing up, it wasn't, I didn't get a lot of incentive or encouragement to follow those artistic dreams and pathways, So when it comes to your creative process and getting started and saying, I'm doing this, come hell or high water, like what was that moment for you guys?
Yeah. Well, I've been.
Go ahead, Ben.
Well, I've been trying to writing stories and stuff off and on for almost 30 years. Every now and then I'll be like, I want to try and write a story and see if I can publish it or something like that. And, I didn't really have a lot of success, but I kept doing it. And, I kept doing it more and more. And finally I realized if I really want to do it, I just got to stick with it. And so that's kind of where this has led me, is to just keep going with this and keep putting it out there. And now that there's a platform, platforms for people, who aren't necessarily in the mainstream or don't have a big following yet, to actually get started. I'm trying to take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm. Mark, how about you?
Yeah, me, I have to do something creative or I just don't feel right. I was not happy as a kid until I started playing in bands, and then felt like, I had an outlet for creative ideas. And then I did stand up when I couldn't do bands, and I got into the comic books, and I'm always coming up with ideas, whether they're funny, scary, or fantasy, and they need to go somewhere. It upsets me to have all these thoughts and just not share them.
And Mark, that kind of brings up a question that I had for you. With the worldwide pause, as Meredith so aptly coined it, and you going with the comedy clubs, I just got notice day before yesterday that Cap City Comedy Club in Austin, Texas, after decades of operating is shut down because being shut down since March because of the pandemic, lease coming up, is just a perfect storm. They're out of business. And of course, I imagine you haven't been able to do any shows since March. Are you hearing that a lot of this is happening to a lot of comedy clubs? And have you started thinking of how you're going to approach comedy going forward, or your stand-up going forward, I should say?
Yeah. In a odd way, I lucked out where for career pursuit, I had to go to a small town. So when things shut down, there really wasn't much here to shut down. So I've kind of floated through this where I was already missing out on all that stuff. I definitely, within a few hours of me, there's stuff. Like there was a show I was going to go to, and then the comedian canceled. So some states are still allowing performances, but they limit the numbers. People have to be seated further away from each other. But the comedian decided, I'm not getting on a plane to fly, and I'm not going to go into a room surrounded by people. So just too bad, Dan Soder. I missed out on you.
Man, that sucks.
Some of the comedians are figuring it out, where they're accepting that, like, hey, we're going to run podcasts and we're going to do live stuff from our homes, and we're going to set up performances where, hey, at this hour we're going to be on performing, and this is going to be the show, and you can tune in. So people are just having to figure out different ways to get their stuff out, and they'll adapt. And eventually the pandemic will end and things will slowly start back up.
Do you think
for the long running businesses and establishments that aren't surviving it?
Do you think that we'll start seeing more streaming services run the comedy specials? Aside from the, Gabriel Iglesias or whoever, the big name of the year is getting their Netflix special or their HBO special. Do you think that we'll start seeing more of these kind of shows to where we get that stand up? I mean, because a good guy, everybody knows it's a unique time and a fun time to go to a comedy club and see an up and comer that you've never heard of. And then of course, seeing a headliner is great as well. But that, I still think that could be a long way away before we're back in the clubs. Have you heard any rumblings of streaming services trying anything, or do you think that's the way we'll go?
I definitely think that opportunity is there. So many more people are at home. They want at-home content. It only makes sense to film specials and get them on the air if the money's there. If people are picking up more streaming service now, if they're just watching the ones they already have and not investing in more, then it might not happen. But I would think people are down for seeing some new recorded comedy, or doing it streaming where they are getting to see it live, and thus you still have the opportunity to comment and share with others as you're watching.
Right.
It's still better than just watching something that's previously recorded with you and a friend. It's fun to see it as it happens. Same with when people used to watch radio shows, or even when you watch live sports, you're still enjoying it around the world in that moment as it's happening. You can still get on the phone with each other and like, did you see that?
Exactly.
Well, one of the things that I love about Geek Insider is that we love to get to know our guests. We try to get the inside scoop if there is one, and things like that. And the reason why is because as we promote, the whatever project it is, whatever crowdfund it is, and you as talent, people connect with people. And I think that's so important to kind of get out there and, because if you're a jerk, it's like, who wants to support you? Who wants to look at your stuff? But when you sit down and actually have a really cool conversation with people, they're more inclined to be curious about you and go and check out your content and your crowdfunds and your social media. And, so it makes it a lot of fun. Cindy Kep is here. Thank you, Cindy, for tuning in. You have a question that says, what is the biggest challenge you find for getting your cool ideas out there and in the hands of interested readers? That's the biggest challenge, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Ben, wait.
Yeah.
Ben.
What? Yeah. Hello.
Answer this question before you freeze up again.
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge I've noticed is just getting people to my Kickstarter page. I looked at Google Analytics this morning, and I've had 280 people come to my Kickstarter page. 44 of them have backed. Another 45 or 50 have signed up to follow the project. So maybe some of them will hopefully back. But that's not a terrible conversion rate. But I mean, it's only 280 people have actually looked at my page. If I had 10,000 people looking at my page, I think I'd be in much better shape. And so I think it's just very hard to get people to my page and get them to look. And if they look, I think, if I get 10 or 20% of them to sign up at some level, I think I'd be in great shape. So trying to get yourself out there to be seen by a larger audience. I post stuff on Facebook for all the time, and I noticed that unless I'm doing a paid ad, the reach is like 20 or 30 people. Even though I've had 800 or 900 have liked my page, Facebook deigns to show it to 20 or 30 people at most, unless it really takes off and a lot of people share it around or like it, and then maybe a few more will see it. But even then, it's 100 at most.
Right, and it's a numbers game. We know this with the things that we try to do with the radio show and with advertising on Geek Insider and other projects we have going. You have to get that name in front of X amount of people in order to get a certain percentage that's going to back you for your project. And I want to give that same question over to you, but first we need to take a really quick break, and then we will continue on with our special guest. Oh, yes, we do. We got to pay some bills somehow.
Check it out. MobileEdge.com has award-winning products with innovative features and contemporary, edgy designs that empower you to look sharp and travel smart with your mobile tech. Your beloved, not to mention expensive gaming gear and mobile tech devices are an extension of you, so give them the protection and style they deserve wherever you go. Find them at MobileEdge.com and protect your tech with Mobile Edge. Bring it on. Hey Geek Insiders, Mobile Edge has a special coupon code for our dedicated listeners. Get 25% off your Mobile Edge gear using coupon code GEEK25. That's GEEK25. Geek.
This is the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Also catch us on the HWWS Web TV YouTube channel. Subscribe today and become part of the legend.
All right. And we're back. And Ben was able to go out and come back in. But Mark,
that's a commercial break usage for
Yep, exactly. So Mark, same question to you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yep. I was going to say, Cindy's question to you, Mark. What is the biggest challenge you find for getting your cool ideas out there and in the hands of interested readers?
Absolutely. I believe there's got to be 10,000 people in the world who would like to read The Guano Guy, that would enjoy the comedy, and I just got to find those people, and that is the challenge. Just getting the word out, knowing where to put this thing, just so the people who would want it get a chance to see it. Because I could put it in 5 places and maybe not one of the people that wants to look at it happens to check out those places. So challenge is just in front of people's eyeballs.
And that's the thing here, folks, that all you listeners out there, whether you're on the podcast, YouTube, Facebook, or on Indie Volt Radio, or on the Roku channel, on the replay on this, we understand that not everybody can go and back these projects, but just realize, and even it's not every project that we bring to the show is going to resonate with every single one of you. But just think about it. If it interests us or it interests some of our audience, chances are it's going to interest some of your friends. And if you can share these Kickstarter and Indiegogo projects out on your Facebook or your Twitter or your Instagram, and just showing that QR code and just the links, those things, like Mark was just saying, you may not be the right target audience, but maybe two of your friends are. And even if they don't have money right now, maybe they'll share it. And 3 of their friends do have money that are infatuated with Guano Guy.
Right.
And
I'm gonna interrupt you, and I'm gonna be blunt. Hit the damn button.
Exactly.
Share it out with your friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
it's a really good point. Like, please do, because I often will put that, like, hey, maybe it's not your book, but if you've got friends that would enjoy, that like silly stuff, like, please just share it with them. Just send that to them so they get a look at it. I'm just trying to entertain people. That's all I want to do. I've never made $1 from this. I just love entertaining people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And anybody who's really passionate about their projects and stuff like that. I mean, I think some of us, we don't want to think back on how much time and money we invested in the supplies, the Kickstarters that you weren't supposed to support because you had something else to pay for. Shh. I mean, the investment of time, supplies, talent to get the thing out of your head and onto paper.
God, yes.
It's really something that everybody, I think, should experience at least once. And it doesn't have to be comic books. It could be songwriting. It could be a script. It could be
poetry,
anything like that, and that's the thing that I love about sitting with you guys here and talking about this, because that creative that process and just saying, I'm going to do this no matter what. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think, and you're just putting art out into the world, and it's kind of like putting your heart on your sleeve. Everybody gets to see it, and maybe they stomp on it a little bit, or maybe they really love it. And, but the only thing you can do is put it out there, let the baby go.
Mark, I have a question here, because you have a pretty high stress day job, so to speak. Is your comedy, your stand-up and your humor in the comic book, is that your release valve from the, and I don't want to out you with your job. I have seen it in interview articles, but if you don't want to say it internationally, I don't want to out you on it.
I don't know. I deal with stress pretty well. I tend to exercise and eat and balance life. So I really do create just because I really need to do it.
Gotcha.
I have to do it, or I just don't feel right. I don't know, I just don't feel right in the day if I don't create. So that's the reason I do it. I mean, for pure stress relief, I'd go hit the gym.
Gotcha. Exactly the opposite of what I do. I hit the bong. For sure.
For Ben, you're an engineer by trade. Yes.
God, another stress job.
Yeah, another stress one. Yeah. But I think the way you've kind of implemented the science into your comic books is rather interesting.
Yeah, I really, as soon as I came up with the idea, I started thinking, I want to make it so the people he eats become the fuel for his jets. And since my background's in the power industry, I started working out the science of that. And one of the backup features in issue 1 is a science of Shark of War. It explains how the food gets converted into oil, which gets converted into jet fuel from there.
Yeah.
And I am imagining that you had some nights where you couldn't fall asleep, where you were working out the logistics on that.
A little bit.
I think you both have, I mean, did you ever wake up in the middle of the night and go, yes, and you just start writing down dialogue and script ideas?
Oh, yeah.
I think about it, but I never get out of bed and start writing.
Now, see, Ben,
I just stay in bed.
And you've lost some golden ideas. I guarantee you've lost some golden ideas by not writing them down.
You're right.
Mark, work. You have something to say about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a ton of ideas come out whenever I'm doing anything else.
Right.
At the gym on the bike, I better have my phone there so I can type down the idea. I'm trying to sleep. Ideas love to come when I'm trying to sleep. You know,
it happens.
Tons of ideas are going to come when I'm in the shower.
It usually happens to me while driving, especially if I'm driving long distances.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bought a tape recorder specifically for that, just so I could hit record. And of course, you got voice memos now on phones, but just having it separate on that tape, it just made it so much better. And you know, sometimes you go, Jesus Christ, well, must have been smoking crack on that trip, you know, and you rewind and tape over it. But my point is I've said this on other shows, is where the middle of the night, trying to fall asleep, an idea hits me on whatever story I happen to be working on my fiction side of things. And I go, oh, that's a great idea. Yes, that's the way I need to take this. That's such a damn good idea. I'll never forget it. I don't need to write it down. And for the next 2 weeks, I freaking kill myself trying to remember what that idea was, because I wake up and it's gone. And so Meredith and I always give this tip, folks. If you are a writer, a creative, keep this beside you at all times. Write them down. And I will tell you I'll add on to this. Don't just start letting your muse take over and you just start banging out chapters or just writing the conversation that's in your head. Write down the entire outline or the idea. I can't tell you how many Word documents are open down here on my computer that are 3 chapters or more, that I go in and I go, damn, I reread them, don't remember writing them, and I'm going, damn, this is pretty good, but where the hell was I going with it?
I don't know, Matthew. I don't know who said this, but I totally agree with it, because I'm a pantster. It is basically write drunk.
I wish I could wake up and find I've written 3 chapters or something.
I've done that. I've done that too. You know what we're going to do? Because Ben, you're starting to break up. We're going to play your Kickstarter video while you come back. And then when we come back, I've actually got some questions in the green room. All right, here we go.
Lacy, and I hope you enjoyed that preview of issues 1 and 2 of Shark of War. If you liked issue 1, I think you'll love issue 2 as we hit the heart of the story. And if you haven't read issue 1 yet, well, there's a link below where you can check it out for free, because I believe once you read it, you'll want to read even more. This is going to be a fun campaign. I've got a lot of cool extras like the Shark of War paper toy, Shark of War stickers, the Shark of War pin, Shark of War comic strips, and of course the Shark of War face mask. Both books are 100% complete, and I've already started work on issue 1. So please get in the Shark Tank and back my project. Thank you for your time.
The QR code. All right.
Now,
Ben,
guys, we're right on the hour mark. Yeah, we're right at the hour mark. If either one of you have to run, by all means, we can cut it here. But we are not backed by, or no one is coming on after us on Indie Vote Radio, and of course our YouTube and Facebook. We can keep going. So if you guys are good to keep going for a few, I think we still have a few questions.
All right.
All right. I'm going to pop one in here. It's an overlay. It says, what cartoons would make great live shows and vice versa? What live shows would make great cartoons?
Oh, nice one.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah.
Cartoons
So-
would make great live shows.
There was a
one.
tragic cancellation that just came up, and I would love to see.
Cancellation.
There was a cartoon that just got announced is done, and I would love to see it come as a live show because I think it could be done, and it's a humorous one. And I think they could use what they've done, but take it different directions, do new stuff. So the Venture Brothers just ended. And that I think would make a very fun live show, and they could get the guy who does the voice of Brock to still be Brock. He hit the gym a little bit. He's already a large guy. So I think that would be a very wild live show, and I think it could be done. I think it'd be a fun one.
Very cool. What about you, Ben?
Well, they tried it and they blew it, but I think Death Note would make a great series on something like Netflix. They tried to make a movie and it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched Death Note not long ago and thought it was really good. Obviously, something like My Hero Academy is something you could see as a live action show. Obviously, the special effects and stuff would be toned down a lot, but the kids in school aspect of it would really work well.
Well, I think with the right budget, the right script, and the right director, Gargoyles would make one killer live action movie. If you folks haven't ever seen Gargoyles, you don't know what you're missing. The voice, oh hell, I'm gonna get them all wrong, so I'm not even gonna go there. But Gargoyles, I think it was in the 90s. Yeah, it was in the 90s. My kids were young, and it's about the gargoyles around New York State coming to life at night, and they were protectors of the city, and it was a cool animated series, and I think that one could really make a good live action. What about you, Meredith?
The first thing that popped into my head was Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Oh shit!
I'm trying to think in my head who could play those characters. What was the captain's name? Armstrong, I think it was.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I love him when he's always like ripping off his shirt and stuff. You know what? Rob Anderson could probably do that. I'm teasing him so bad.
I gotta say something. You brought up Rob. I gotta say something. He doesn't look right growing his hair out. He needs to go ahead and shave the head and get the mohawk back. Rob, you're always listening in, and so it kind of looks like you're wearing a toupee, bro. It just doesn't look right. The last couple of videos I've seen, it just doesn't look right. Shave it off. Go back with the mohawk or the shaved head, and I need a haircut my damn self. But anyway, I just had to bring that up because I thought of it earlier when I saw something that he was on one of his shows. But go ahead. We've got a couple of other questions that are
here. So what's the first thing you would buy if someone dropped $1 million in unmarked bills at your door?
How do you know they're unmarked?
Well, it says so. They just told us.
I'm supposed to trust a note when someone drops some money?
Weren't you listening? I know exactly what I would do.
What would you do?
I would look for a house by the beach in a state that I can afford, and I would pay that house cash.
Nice.
For probably half the money.
Nice.
The other half would go into retirement.
Yeah.
Done.
That's
Go ahead, Ben.
I can't say that's not what I would do.
Hey, I'm the same way. The beach.
I'd say that's something similar to what I would do. Though I've also always wanted to take one of those first-class vacations.
You could do that with $1 million. Totally.
Yep. You might not be considered a quote-unquote millionaire with $1 million, but I guarantee you I could live very comfortably for a very good long time with $1 million. And I'm in the same boat, Mark.
Actually, you'd probably be second row on.
Go ahead,
Second
Ben.
row on.
Hey, you're lagging again.
Yeah.
I would definitely have a home on the beach. That's something that I planned on doing as my retirement several years ago, because I can't imagine anything better than sitting out on my porch with my laptop, writing, looking out, and hearing the ocean. That's just, that is heaven.
Yeah, I'm lagging.
You think?
We'll be back, folks. We'll be back. For me, I would probably buy land, but I love lakes. So it wouldn't be oceanfront, it wouldn't be beachfront, but I would definitely be at a beautiful lake. I loved the Adirondacks when we lived up there. One thing about Florida is I think we have to import rocks. So I miss things like boulders and pine trees and things like that. You
need to come down to where I live. The Bastrop, Texas is considered, it's called the Lost Pines of Texas. And of course we had the big forest fire 9 years ago, just this past weekend. But yeah, we have boulders just in the town next to us. I have a farmer buddy who went to go plow the land, and he pulled out boulders, and I mean Stonehenge size boulders.
I missed rocks. I didn't think that would happen. So we've got one more question. Well, maybe two here.
There's a couple.
Given an opportunity or with anonymity, what kind of stories would you write or draw beyond what you currently do?
Nice. Let's go with Ben first before he freezes again.
I've actually, written a novel. It was a middle grade historical fiction. So I try to write more novels, fantasy and sci-fi. If you're going to get me to confess to writing adult fiction, I don't know if I'm going to do that. but yeah, mainly just writing. Obviously, I wouldn't. I don't want to write fanfic, but I'd love to write for Marvel or DC on something.
Shit. Yeah, no joke. Mark, what about you, bud?
Yeah, I got a Deadpool story. It's basically he's in Groundhog's Day. It's sitting ready to go.
That sounds good.
So once I'm
hey, with the Ryan Reynolds, if you're listening, Ryan, you love the Deadpool stuff.
Yeah, it'd be perfect. How could that not succeed?
Cindy,
writes itself, but I wrote it.
Cindy, you're one of the few people that knows where Bastrop, Texas is. And yeah, it is between Austin and Houston. When Houston gets evacuated because of hurricanes, we get an influx of people. But Cindy also did have a question for you guys. And Mark, will pose this one to you first. What's the best reaction you've gotten from your work?
Gosh. Gotten a few. There was a reviewer recently where as he was going through each short story, he just kept cracking up and he was like, I never thought about that way. Like I never thought about sports that way. I never thought about death that way in the afterlife. So that was fun. And that was at a convention where somebody bought the comic, bought Guano Guy #1, and then they went maybe 20 feet away and started reading and were cracking up and then came back and bought another one. So
that's cool. That's the cool thing right there. Is I think that's probably one of the better. I don't want to say backhanded compliments because it's not a backhanded, but just an outright compliment without having to say, "Hey, man, I love your work," and feeling like they're dropping down, kissing butt. Is that they walk away, they read the first few panels, they get a chuckle out of it, and then they turn around and I've got to have one more of this. And folks, that's one thing to take away, of course, from all of our shows, but especially when we're bringing on these independent artists and comic book creators, is that sure, you can hear this on Indie Vote, or you can hear this on the podcast, and you might even go and watch it on the YouTube. And a lot of you won't take the time to go and actually look at these campaigns, these crowdfunding campaigns. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you don't have two pennies to rub together right now, man. We totally freaking understand, especially in this day and age. But if you can take the time to just share it out to your social media, or tell your friends about Guano Guy, or I'm going to get it wrong, Shark of War. I almost said Shark the War. I'm on my second whiskey though, so I should be forgiven. But these kind of things, that stuff, just sharing it out, or even just telling your friends, hey, go to Indiegogo and check out Guano Guy, or go to Kickstarter and check out this, or go to Indiegogo and check out Shark of War. Those kind of things help. Yeah, Kickstarter. I'm sorry, man. I knew one of you guys was gonna be on the wrong one when I said it. Meredith, is that?
Yeah. The best thing I assume you're asking me the same question. The best thing I've gotten is when somebody emails me back and says they like my book. That's really rewarding. I was hoping to, go and sell issue 1 at conventions this summer. I finished it just in time for my hometown convention. I had the books in hand. I was ready to go, and they canceled the convention. And now they've canceled all of them until supposedly Charleston, which isn't far from me, is going to have one in October. We'll see if that happens. I'm hoping to go to that if they do.
And well, that's a good question for both of you. And Ben, we'll start with you. If they came out and said, okay, it's Thursday, but next weekend we're going to have a big convention within 100 miles of you, would you go?
I'd put on my Shark of War face mask. I'd grab some Purell, and I'd hit the road and go.
What about you, Mark?
No.
I'm not ready yet. Mm-mm.
No, brother. Go ahead.
I was in a restaurant recently where they were not doing the distancing, and people were closing in and packing in, and I had to leave. I'm just not comfortable yet.
Mark, me and you in the same boat. Like I said, I live in. It used to be a much smaller town. Now we're kind of a suburb of Austin, Texas. But there are several restaurants that they're taking the whole thing of 25% capacity. Well, they're taking that as what the fire marshal says their capacity is, and so they don't even have to cut down on the tables. They are still having people sitting next to each other. And me personally, I beat cancer earlier this year. I really don't think COVID is going to take me out, but my wife has had a couple of heart attacks. She's diabetic. My mother-in-law has Alzheimer's and has other medical issues. If I bring home something to them, I'm going to kill my family. Right. And I've always tell everybody, I've been practicing for this shit for 20 years because I've worked from home for 20 years. I worked for Xbox, then I worked for Apple, and then I worked for myself. And so I haven't worked out in the field in a very long time, and quarantining at home, okay. I'm a writer. I like staying at home, but that's, and it has been kind of like this 50-50 where we've got a group of guests that are, yes, I would go tomorrow. I would practice, social distancing and safe care, but I would be there. And yeah, Meredith is one of them. Meredith said like 4 months ago she would go, when 900 people a day were dying in her state.
I would still go because, hey, you only live once.
Well, I'm not saying I wouldn't be cautious while I'm going, but I would, and I'm going to go up and like swap spit with people and high five, chest bump people.
I would go up and lick anybody, for God's sake.
Right. We always call that the nelp. You just just right up their face. But no, and I do get it, because I would be kind of torn right now if my favorite con, which is just down the road, said, "Hey guys, yeah, we canceled August, but we're going to do one in December." I would be kind of torn on whether I ask for my press credentials or if I pass it up, because I love the cons. I love meeting the indie artists. I really refuse to spend money to stand in line to meet a celebrity. I will set up an interview with them, but there's probably 2 or 3 people in the industry that I would pay money to get their autograph, and one of them's dead. Stan Lee. Yeah, I would definitely pay money to get a photo with Stan, and I would have any time in my life. But there's very few that I would actually
pay to get a photo with him now.
Hey man, Weekend at Bernie's was a pretty good movie, and
it was.
But
that guy was actually alive, right?
Oh, well, of course, but and they've done wonders with Walt Disney's head. So if Walt Disney owns Marvel now, maybe Stan the Man's head's frozen somewhere, and I am ghoulish. I'd take a picture with Stan's head.
Who was it? Ted Williams who had his head frozen? Somebody.
I think it's creepy.
Baseball fans.
The Wax Museum.
Madame Tussauds.
No, I think that would creep me out a little bit. But I like being creeped out. I love being creeped out, so I probably love it.
Now, guys, we've discussed this, that the industry as a whole has changed since the pandemic, since March, let's say. The Comic-Cons have shut down. A lot more people are moving to crowdfunding. And now I do want y'all to correct me if I'm wrong, because y'all have, I think both of you had campaigns before the pandemic. It seems to me that the pandemic is bringing more light to the indie projects, whether it is more people dropping a couple of bucks here and there, or they're, just more interest as far as being called in for interviews like this. Ben, what have you seen since?
I can't say I've seen that. I mean, I could see it maybe for the people like, Matrix guy, who's
we had a question about that.
Crushed 600,000 or 700,000 already. It probably helps him. For me, my traffic level seems to be similar to what it was when I ran my first one, which was in February, just right before it hit. So I can't say I've seen a bump for me, as someone who's, below the radar. That's probably just me. I could see, like I said, people like him and
Keanu Reeves,
Todd
McFarlane.
Who is the Batman writer? Scott Snyder has a big one going. I can see where it helps them directly, because they have everybody sees them on social media, so I could see that they could be getting a bump from this. Not that Keanu wouldn't have done fine, probably in a pandemic-free alternate universe. I'm sure he'd still be raking in the money if he chose to go this route. But
Meredith, before we ask Mark that question, throw up that card that you had about Keanu. I want to see their impact.
Keanu Reeves on Kickstarter, good or bad for indie comics?
And Mark, let's go to you first on that.
Yeah, great, absolutely. Get in the pool, Keanu.
Well,
pop on in here. A bunch of people that maybe didn't do anything with Kickstarter before will check it out. Maybe this will be their first one, and then they'll be like, "Oh, this Kickstarter thing works. I'll look into some other ones."
That's a good point.
Like, wait a minute, I didn't read a comic book before, but it's Keanu, so I'm gonna give it a shot. And then they might be like, "Oh, I like comic books. I didn't realize that." And they'll maybe check some other ones out. I don't think it can hurt me. It's not. He's definitely not taking money away from me. You know, at his level.
Well, when the man hits a $50,000 goal in 30 minutes, and then is up to 300,000 in the first couple of hours, and it's just crazy. Of course, it's the name draw, but Ben, what do you think? Did it help or did it hurt?
I don't think it had, you know, an impact. You know, maybe in the very short term, there's going to be a few dollars that go toward him that wouldn't go toward smaller projects. In the long term, it's probably a net plus in terms of bringing people in. As somebody pointed out, that you know, they send out emails to all the people who back a Kickstarter, and at the bottom there's a bunch of other, you know, Kickstarter projects listed. So I think that you know some of those people who back Keanu now get emails for different projects, and you know some of those people will go and click on those emails and back those projects.
And usually though,
I hope my project winds up on one of those emails, but that's probably luck of the draw, or you got to be one of the very big projects to get on a Keanu email.
Well, what I've seen from the projects that I've backed, and I may be wrong, but when they send out those emails, usually the ones at the bottom are over 100% backed already, or they're very close to being 100% backed. I get emails, and I may be wrong on which platform it is, Indiegogo or Kickstarter, but I got one the other day, and every single project that was listed in there was 135% funded. At exactly 135%. And so I don't know if that's a trigger, but I do think I agree with Mark that, you know, these names coming in like this of Todd McFarlane and Keanu Reeves, that when people come in and they go, holy shit, Keanu Reeves is doing a comic, and they go on, and 2 days after it started, they see that it's at $400,000, and that there's all these kind of stretch goals, then they're going, maybe these indie comics are something to look at. Because, you know, one thing that I look at is I don't necessarily care about marketability or the way to go mainstream. My thing is it a unique story? Does the artwork entice me? Oh, she's bringing up Keanu.
Oh, come on. He doesn't need more advertising. put mine back up.
I'm going to say something here about this, okay? I mean, I'm looking at that number and I'm crying because I can probably buy my house 10 times over.
Right.
But on the flip side, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to pay the taxes on that crap either. So I don't know. I'm going to pull you too, so that people can see. I just wanted to see the number because I hadn't seen it today. And no, I mean, but look at this number: 6,895 backers. How many of those have never been Kickstarter before? You know, and since they're there, then you know maybe they'll look around and see. Oh, you know what? There are people who are making movies. There are people who are making other comic books. You know, all kinds of stuff. So I personally think it's a good thing. And haters are going to hate no matter what, you know.
Yes,
but
yes.
Yeah.
And Keanu, to me, guys, he really keeps it real. I've mentioned this a couple of times. When he was approached about this, This wasn't something he went saying, hey, I want to do a comic book. He was asked, hey, have you ever thought about doing a comic book? And he said, well, matter of fact. And then he mentioned it in the beginning of, hey, it would be really cool if we could get the sad Keanu meme put in the comic. And the freaking artist remembered that and has it in the comic. And, you know, he's just so down to earth, or seems to be anyway, and willing to connect with his fans and his audience. And I just truly believe that yes, it's just like that Mark said, that these bigger stars coming to the crowdfunding and choosing to go indie as opposed to going to one of the bigs of saying, here's my idea, pay me a lot of money, and let's throw it out. They're trying to keep the true creative control, and they are bringing some more attention to these to our indie artists, which we definitely love. And we actually have some news that is upcoming within the next couple of weeks about some more indie creators. I'm just waiting for the final yes on that, which takes us outside of comics. It takes us outside of movies. We're friends with Shudder. We're friends with Full Moon Features for the movie side of things, and Amazon Prime. We've got some folks over there that we love. And then, of course, all of these creators that are with us, tonight. And then, of course, the ones that have been here for the last few weeks. But anyway, Meredith, take it away.
Yeah.
I've been just gabbing my ass off.
So, Bet, your campaign, you've got 13 days to go. You've got 44 backers, $1,000 goal, which is, the book is done, right? It's ready to be delivered.
Yep.
That's really cool.
It's all ready.
I'm just going to scroll through the campaign and see what you have here. And I don't know if you want to kind of narrate or anything.
I'll be right back, guys.
Sure. There's my my promo.
And you know what? Daphne Lake, I'm going to give her a shout out too, because she did a really.
Here's my my little animation of for everybody. I've tried to throw a few of those little things in there just for fun.
See, now I have
and there's a link there that I think there's a link that you push past. Everybody can read issue 1 for free if they want.
Very cool.
Read the digital version. It's the full digital version too. It even has the backup features and everything else.
Now, I have to say, the first time I saw this artwork, I went, "Oh my gosh, what is this? What am I looking at?" But then hearing your story, the fact that you're like, "Hey, I'm just doing this on my own. I'm doing my own art," and that actually gave me a new appreciation for what you're doing. And quite honestly, with some of the videos that you've put together for this, I really foresee kind of like this underground following, like a cult following for this, because it's fun. But then again, getting to know you as the creator and going, yeah, you know what, I'm one of your, I don't want to say I'm your biggest fan. I don't want to creep anybody out, but misery. But I may not be your number one fan, but I appreciate the effort that you've put into sharing this out, creating it, despite the fact that, you're learning 2D art and things like that. So, and just putting it out because you've got a story to tell. And I admire that. I admire the creator's journey. So again, that kind of turned my eyes a little bit to be more favorable to this, because I'm just like, because it's not exactly, it's not fine art. And I hope you're not insulted by that.
No, I think I realize that my artwork's not going to be to everybody's taste. And, it's also, I know there's a lot of people in comic books who want hand-drawn traditional art. But I think if you look at it, it's effective in telling the story. And, I got a review recently from Monkeys Fighting Robots on the book, where they basically said, this art's different, but it really works for this story. And, if I was doing a story that wasn't taking place out on the high sea and had a lot of human characters, it would probably be, wouldn't work as well. But I think with the shark and the stuff like that, this kind of art actually kind of fits in a way.
It does.
And
there's another little bit of animation. When I start talking about me and the statistics.
Are you sharing the animation on your social media and stuff?
Oh yeah, I pop these up on Facebook every now and then, like the little Shark Tank, the flying shark.
And let me pull up Mark's campaign because it launches yet, so there isn't a lot to look at.
Oh, Guano Guy. Just put in the Guano Guy. Oh.
Should I look up?
I gotta know though, because I have not read the comic yet. Before you go into your crowdfunding there, how the hell did he get the name Guano Guy? I just picture him throwing shit at everybody.
Yeah, I gotta tell people that's definitely
G13.
There's absolutely none of that going on in the book. We don't do anything with feces. That's not funny. There's no poo in the book at all. Nope. I promise.
Okay.
Really? Come on.
How can you not have any poop in a book when the guy's name is Guano Guy?
Fucking that kind of stuff around, okay?
Oh. See, I mean, at least put it in a paper bag and light it on fire somewhere.
Oh, come on. I can do better than that. I can come up with better stuff than that.
Well, I'll tell you, this is something you could put in a
professional comedian. He can come up with better poop jokes than that.
We actually, my cousins and I actually took, and we didn't even think to go get dog poop. We pooped in the alley, and then took it and put it under the car door handles of these neighbors that we disliked, so that when they opened their car, they didn't only get it on their fingers, they got it under their fingernails. And yeah, and of course we were the bad kids of the neighborhood, so they immediately came to our house. And it's a one of those family stories that gets told at every little family get together, because the lady was very religious, the mother, and she came over there and she said, I want to pray. And she was praying for us, me and my cousin, and we're sitting there praying when my aunt pulls up, and of course she knows we did something wrong with Miss Hedgepeth over there praying with us. And so needless to say, our poop joke under the car door handles got the poop beat out of us. I remember I grew up in the 70s and 80s.
Well, so we're looking at the Kickstarter. This launches September 15th. Let's see, because that's really tiny on my eyes. Let me go back to that page. You have 36.
To answer this question, I really love Batman, and I thought I would do a funny spoof name that was also casual.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't actually look it up or understand like exactly what the name meant. But that's
I knew what Guano was.
That's one of the things I love about the character. You know, it's just all of those double entendres. But we're looking at the campaign here. 37 followers. I would love to see that. People being notified of this Kickstarter when it launches on the 15th. Let's get that up to like 50 or more followers who are kind of waiting for this to launch so that they can dive in and hit the button. Hit the button. All right. I get up there. Now.
We've got to create a sound bite that is just somebody screaming, hit the button.
Who was that? Louis Anderson? Was it him that was always screaming?
No, you're thinking of Sam Kinison. Sam Kinison.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It says Guano Guy number 3 plus all 6 back issues. Is this a second season or how's this?
That had me a little bit confused.
The short stories. He talked about it earlier.
I'm good at math. Yeah, there's an issue 0, 1/2, 1.5, and 2.5. Those were all short story issues. Get those now because those are in short supply, and we're going to move on to like a trade of all the short stories. So if you want like originals, first prints, second prints of those, you got to get in now.
Mm-hmm. And where can they find those books, Mark?
So in the campaign.
So they have to wait for the 15th? Oh, man.
Oh, it's so far away.
I know. 5 days. Oh, my God.
I want it now.
See, we want that enthusiasm.
I want that and an Oompa Loompa now.
Well, guys,
well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Meredith.
I was just about to say it, Matthew.
On Terraform.
We're
Guys, number one PDF form. It's on Terraform. Go try it. If you like it, hop in on this campaign. Get some laughs. We got almost 200 pages of material. I'm going to keep making more.
Yeah,
that's too cool.
We're looking forward to it. So I was actually going to say that we are beyond the 1.5 hour mark, and we're probably going to say goodbye so that you guys can get on with your day. But we really appreciate you. I'm going to put up your QR codes again. So if anybody is watching on the replay, make sure that you get your cell phone out, do a scan, do a screenshot. We're going to start with John Celestri because he's not here. There you go, John the Animator. That is on Indiegogo. If you're a Star Wars fan, I don't know why you're not hopping on the Boba Fett. Do that. Do that today. Let's get him over the goal. It's not really a large goal, and he actually changed delivery time to Christmas. So if you back this campaign and he succeeds, you can get your books in there in time for the Christmas tree or the holiday season. Then
the stocking stuffers.
Yeah, stocking. I wouldn't do that though, only because the board and the bags and boards and stuff like that, and people are very, very careful with their comics. Guano Guy, this QR code takes you right to the Kickstarter. Hit the notification button. Make sure that you share it out with your friends. Tell everybody. Again, we're advocating for each other. Go out there, share it. If you can't support it, you can be an advocate. And then we've got Ben Lacy's QR code. This will get you over to his Kickstarter, which is funding right now. And, lots of fun getting to know the creators sitting here today. Again, we love advocating for the creators. If you are, if you're out there, if you're listening, hit the QR code, go visit these crowd funds, share it out with your friends. That's what we do. We love supporting one another. And
what?
Cindy Kemp says here, thanks for hosting the adventure. Much fun for all. And I think that's a great way to end it. Matthew, do you have anything?
Well, of course I do. They got a kind of a head start earlier because I asked John this question, but I bet they forgot. And as I said to John, we always ask every guest of Geek Speak this question, and Ben, will start with you. If you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Buy Apple.
Hey, good point. I made some good money on my Apple stock. I will say that. Mark, how about
collectibles? All your collectibles. All the action figures, the comic books, all of it. Don't let them tell you it's not worth anything.
Don't open them. Don't play with them. I had all the Star Wars original Kenner Star Wars stuff. Don't open them. Don't open them. All right.
So quite honestly, if you guys saw your older self, would you listen?
Oh gosh, if I saw my older, if little me saw this me, he'd just be like, "No, seriously."
I would have punched me right in the nuts, is what I would.
Oh no, little me would be like, "Wow, okay, it does turn out better."
Little me would be like, "Dang it, you're bald." Grandpa was right.
Little me would be going, "Wow, you could actually grow a mustache now," because I had the most splotchiest, thinnest crap ever.
But going back in time and buying stock has been something I've thought about for a long time. So I think little me might have listened to the advice.
If only you had a time machine so that you could go back Oh,
that was the flaw in the plan.
And I'll tell you guys something. Not only would Apple have been a good buy, but I was around in the 90s when Marvel was in bankruptcy and was at 4 cents a share. 4 cents. And I knew it. I knew that it was going to come back. They had screwed themselves with all the crossovers and the whole bubble burst on comic books. They went into bankruptcy, and I followed the stock market quite closely back then, and I saw them in bankruptcy at 4 cents. And I told my wife at the time, I was like, I really, really should buy some of this and just sit on it. That would be one of my things to tell my younger self is, dumbass, do it. But gentlemen, we definitely enjoyed tonight. Folks that are out there on Indie Volt Radio, thank you so much for tuning in live. Folks that are on the podcast, don't forget that you can see this live on Indie Volt, which is available on your Amazon devices and all the good places. But of course, you can also watch it on YouTube on Indie Volt, as well as Geek Insider's Indie Volt. And gentlemen, before we head out, one more quick time, tell them where they can find you. Mark.
Hey, find me on Facebook, Mark Darden. Follow me or follow the Guano Guy if you only want to know about that. But either of those would be great. So keep up to date. I'll tell you what's going on with the books when the convention's open, and I do feel good about going back to it. I'll tell you about that. And if I'm doing a comic store signing, I'll tell you about that. Keep you up to date. Come follow me. We'll communicate.
Fantastic. Ben.
Sharkofwar.bitingcomics.com on Kickstarter now. If you go to bitingcomics.com directly, you can get issue 1 free. And on Facebook, facebook.com/sharkofwar. I post all my art, a lot of other little animations like you saw on both my website and on Facebook. Thank you.
Very cool. Gentlemen.
And, well, Matthew, before you guys are welcome to stay. We've got a couple of closing things, which might take a minute or so. But if you've got to get going, we will catch up with you later. We're just not kicking you out of the room. I just wanted to do a couple of announcements here. On Monday on Geek Speak,
yes.
we've got Leonardo Corbucci. He's been in Italy. He's back in California. We're going to be talking about what he's been up to. Cyborg's Universe is
and
YouTube.
Yes. No. Amazon Prime. He's got a huge following around the world, especially in Asia. And the last time we had Leonardo on, he had something planned with one of the major players from The Walking Dead. We are hoping to get an update on that because of course the pandemic slowed things down, but with him being able to go to Italy and he's based out of Canada, we're hoping that we'll get an update on that. But if you haven't checked it out, it is on Amazon Prime, Cyborg's Universe. If I'm not mistaken, there's 2 seasons of it with a third underway or hopefully underway soon. But we will have Leonardo Corbucci on here Monday night. Folks, do not miss this one, especially you folks out there on Indie Volt Radio.
Yep. And then I want to pop this in IndieVent. That QR code is going to take you to the IndieVent site. It's coming November 9th through the 13th. We are doing another IndieVent where we are inviting people who do horror, crime, thrillers, noir, all kinds of geeky, cheeky and freaky stuff. We're putting that blanket statement out there and in the invitation. So if this is
Meredith knows this. I have been working on or wanting to get Charles Band on this show for quite some time. Charles Band is the owner and the brains behind Full Moon Features. We've had some guests on from various Full Moon Features movies as far as directors and actors, and Charles Band is tentatively, I ain't even going to say tentatively. Charles Band's going to be here come hell or high water if I got to go and drag him here myself, but it's just a matter of which night. And so make sure that you tune in to or watch Indie Event, INDEEVENT.com, because we will be updating this stuff on as we go. That being said, if you are someone that has a horror comic or thriller or noir or thriller, I think I said thriller, any of those kind of things that kind of fits the Halloween theme, drop us a line, Matthew at geekinsider.com or Meredith at geekinsider.com, whether you are a writer, director, actor, artist, whatever the case may be, because as we've said millions of times over the last few months, we are supporters and advocates for the indie artist, and this one is horror themed to follow up Halloween. Drop us a line. We want to hear from you. We've got a lot of exciting stuff planned, stuff that Meredith doesn't even know about yet.
Oh, I've got some stuff that you don't know about either. So,
hey, now wait a minute. That ain't supposed to work both ways. I'm the
right?
boss.
What's good for the goose? What's good for the gander? And on that note, we're going to give Randy Zimmerman a little love because he's got the Sunday Funnies. That is Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Indie Volt Radio. Make sure that you tune in. And let me just put his little bump in here, and then we're out.
Now, every Sunday morning, longtime independent comics creator and Indie Volt podcaster Randy Zimmerman hosts a discussion on the lighter side of comics, the more whimsical and fun comics out there on the Sunday Funnies. That's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday on Indie Volt, indievolt.com, the Indie Volt YouTube channel, and the usual Indie Volt sites on Facebook. Listen in, won't you? Participate in the chat. Let's have some fun. See you there.
You've been tuning in to Geek Speak with Matthew Harris and Meredith Loughran, a Geek Insider presentation. Subscribe to the Geek Insider podcast on your favorite listening app and sign up for the newsletter on our website. We also have advertising opportunities through the website, podcast, and newsletter. For details, contact advertising at geekinsider.com. This has been a Geek Insider production. Thank you for listening. Geek out.